back to another episode of Inside Access Control, sponsored by SIA. Very excited today to have Haniel Lynn. He's with Kastle. And Haniel, thank you very much for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for letting me be here
Of
today.
course. So if you would, why don't you give the listeners just a little background on yourself and the company, and then we'll jump into the recent announcement that you had.
Yeah, sure. I'm the CEO of Kastle Systems. I've been around Kastle for about a year and a half, actually coming from outside of industry in information services. I joined Kastle because it has a 48-year history of such strong reputation, starting in the Washington market 48 years ago, and then moving nationally now, and then also actually into Australia, providing managed services, security solutions to Class A, Class B commercial real estate clients, multifamily clients as well.
Very good. So nice rich background, and then bringing a new perspective to it, which is exciting. So saw recently that you all announced an initiative called, I believe, SafeSpaces. I'll let you name it. But it seems to be in response to what's going on right now in the current climate, and because your managed services, it's quite unique. You touch all of your clients on a regular basis. So interested in your perspective of what the program is and the positive impacts that it'll have.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So we did launch a thing that's called KastleSafeSpaces earlier this week. We're really excited about it. What we were finding is there's such a shift in conversation over the last couple of weeks towards how to think about getting people back in the office and back to productive work. And obviously, there's been a lot of conversation about how do you do that in a way that makes people feel safe about getting back to the office. And so as we looked around out there, there wasn't a lot of point of view about how to do that well. And in fact, when we talk to our building clients and our tenant clients, tenants of those buildings clients, there was a lot of confusion about how exactly to do that in a practical way. And so we wanted to step into the void to provide a framework, a blueprint for how to think again about balancing the need to get back to work and the ability to do that in a safe and secure way for the people who are coming back to those buildings. And so hence KastleSafeSpaces.
I like it. Yeah, I think the key difference that I've heard what you're doing versus some of the stuff I've seen is, so this is a framework. It feels like our industry does a really good job of like, hey, we have hammers. Everyone needs a hammer, and it's like a solution based. But on yours, it feels like, maybe you could talk a little bit about the framework itself, but it feels like it's a sort of like a stepped approach, and it's broad. It's not just a sort of single solution, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we believe at Kastle, because I think again we come from a managed services provision standpoint, that the future has to combine technology, combines data, combines process, systems all integrated in a way to deliver solutions. So it's much more holistic, just even by solution nature. But you also look at the problems that we're trying to solve, and you've got a range of needs depending on what circumstances exist. That could be, again, ranging from tenants all the way to buildings and size of buildings, size of existing span that they're trying to protect, and then also the existing infrastructure that they've got. And all those have to come together in a way where I think you have to be customizable and adaptable to solving whatever specific problem that an individual organization or building or tenant might have.
Yeah, that's I'm seeing that too. I don't think it's going to be a one size fits all. It's going to be somewhat of an approach to take a look at, because the building types and like the way people work, it's very specific. So yeah, it's going to be the framework is probably a better way to approach it than what started off. Everyone was saying we need thermal cameras. Then it went from thermal cameras to sort of utilizing visitor management systems to do sort of pre-configuration of before you show up, like this is everything. So
yeah.
It's it's interesting for the market, for our industry. I think it's a good time, if you would, and it's sort of like silver lining in a horrible thing that's going on right now is that I feel like our industry is having a moment that is going to change from the basis of just safety being keeping bad people out. Now it's about how to keep bad things and people, I guess. And yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's just a much more expansive view of safety, because safety is not, the security version of safety, which you said, but now includes this health part of safety as well. And that's important to make people feel like they are comfortable in the office space.
Thank you for the overview on the KastleSafeSpaces. Can you elaborate a little bit more of what's included or what are the parts of it?
Yeah, for sure. So as we thought about it, we think that there are four shifts that are going to be happening in the new work environment as people are coming back to work. We call them our 4 pillars. So the 4 of them, first one is we say everything is touchless, and the idea, of course, is that you imagine walking into a building, office building, multifamily building, what have you. There's just so many different surfaces that you touch, from the door to the visitor counter to the elevator, and in the future, just everything will be touchless. That enables you to get into everything, hopefully without putting your hands on it, which is a security, a safety measure. Second one, thinking about how to screen out the folks who are sick and allow in people that are safe. As science catches up, we'll potentially have screening, maybe even in your lobbies, for people who are testing that they are immune or that they don't have the virus. So that could be a way in the future. But in the nearer term, you can imagine checkpoints that test for temperature through thermal cameras. It could have questionnaires that validate somebody is sick or safe before letting somebody in. All that could be associated with your access control profile before letting somebody into the building. The third one, as we think about, again, using access control data now and technology, we can make for better contact tracing and allowing some people who are ultimately going to get into the building, even though they might not have been symptomatic at the time, and you say, oh gosh, this person ended up being sick, how do you find out? So we have a point of view that buildings ought to be turning on their access control 24/7, and then figuring out who's been in and who's out. And then to the degree that there is somebody who does get sick, then we can identify them and others who are associated on the same floor, or use video camera technology to figure out who's been in close contact with them, so that you can inform others who potentially could have been impacted. And then finally, the fourth pillar, we talk about social distancing, a couple words that we use a lot these days. Here, thinking again about how to use access control data and technology to manage maybe arrival times into the building, because the distribution when people come in, so you could put windows together so that you're flattening the arrival curve into buildings. You could also monitor the numbers of people who are going on any floor at any point in time, in case it passes some threshold number where it exceeds kind of the social distancing thresholds. You could also, as lots of our clients are doing, do scheduled work time. So you could do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or something like that. Similarly, using your access profile to enable certain people in and out at certain periods of time. Again, in the spirit of trying to make sure that spaces are de-densified as possible, and then enable social distancing. So these are the 4 things that we've talked about. We've got a framework for each of them, and how to think about leveraging, again, data, technology, process to enable these things to be true in this shift into the new world.
It's pretty fascinating because it's our industry, again, from the safety side of just keeping bad people out, and really the data that was ever used was more in the rears, where you would just analyze it, but wasn't really actionable. And it feels like our systems are on hyperspeed now, to where they're adding value beyond just the safety side to be able to make people work better, if you would, and have their buildings be healthier now on that side. So it's interesting to see the systems like yourselves who have the ability to take that data and to use it. It goes beyond the security side, which is, I think, just a better place for our industry to be. And it's exciting to see companies like yourself do that.
Yeah, it's great to see that. I think it's there, and then just using it in a different application and thinking it from a different frame. And that's a big part of how we have thought about safe spaces ourselves.
So if people want to find out more information, where's the best place to go?
We talk about our 4 pillars of this Kastle Safe Spaces, and we lay that all out in how we think about it in the way that it manifests inside of a building, inside of a tenant suite space. All that can be found on our website on kastle.com.
Okay, wonderful. All right. Well, thank you for taking the time. It's a quick overview of what you have, ton of information online for that. And I appreciate you spending time with us.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. No problem.